Hello, everybody. Welcome in and welcome to our channel. We're super excited about tonight's live. My name is Samantha, and I've got my partner here, Kaylia, with me.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our show this evening. Nice to see everyone with us.
Yeah, super excited. Let's throw up this thumbnail. Did Terri Horman or Dede Spicher have a motive? That is tonight's live. It is April 5th, 2024. Yeah, wow. It's been a week. We have been able to get our memberships set up. We are super excited about that.
Yes.
Hey, Chaos Queen, Zane Lily. Nice to see you guys here.
Yep, we got a few people in the chat. Actually, it's funny you mentioned the memberships. I clicked the link and I became a member on accident. So
Oh,
you
no.
can preview our cute little hand badge right next to my name right there.
Next to the, yeah.
I was
So,
previewing it and I went
what
too
did you
far.
become?
I
You got
went
to play the right one.
I became a screamer. I, w-
Oh,
I went all the way. I was previewing it just to see, and I instead of hitting back, I hit confirm. So woohoo!
well, welcome, Screamer. That's so awesome.
Yes, that's funny. Hello, Bigfoot Barbecue. Welcome back, Kathy. Hello. Nice to see you guys back here again this weekend.
Well, we decided, you know what? Let's talk about motives here, right? We have touched on probably every subject you could possibly think of in the Kyron Horman case.
Yep.
We run out of ideas sometimes, but we can go over old stuff or whatever, but we realized we have never really gone over motives. And at first I thought, we're going to throw this live together, and oh my gosh, we got
Oh,
another new member.
woohoo! Thank you. A
Is it?
whisperer.
Ooh. Now, how
Thank
come it
you.
doesn't show me on my side what people are? It just says new member on my side.
Huh. That is a
Thank
good
you,
point.
Zane Lily.
Yeah. I don't know. But yes, thanks so much, Saint Lily, for becoming a member. We appreciate you. Welcome to the Whisperer Club.
How can I just want to see. Yeah, it just says new member on my side. I guess I'll have to pay attention to my phone when people come in. Yeah, my phone tells me that you're a whisperer. Thank you so much for that. That is amazing. Thank you. But yeah, we were worried when we put this together that we weren't going to be able to show enough as far as what motive Terri could have had herself to get Dede involved or what. And I mean, now we have so much to talk about. This is going to be an exciting live.
Yes. And as we go along, we'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions because this is baffling. It's hard to put your head in the shoes of somebody who is capable of hurting a child, allegedly, I should say. So, yeah, as we go through these clips and these things that we found, yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well of what you think about what could the motive be.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some news clip, one of just all Kaine, which I could not believe, Kaylia. Watching that entire 15 minutes, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I haven't heard some of that stuff. So that's really exciting to show because if I haven't heard it, lots of other people probably haven't heard it. And we have both parents on the news. We have Desiree. And I think where we're going to start today is, well, let's just throw up the parents. Let's just throw up this first news clip for everybody to watch. This is both of the parents, and they get asked by the reporter what motive they think Terri could possibly have.
If Terri did this, what could her motivation be?
I have tried to put my head inside hers, and I can't. I'm a completely different person, so I really can't answer that.
You try to put a logical sense or even a thought process behind it, and the next event comes up and it completely just blows it away. It's difficult in this situation.
There's so much to talk about in that. Like, the parents themselves couldn't even really think of what a motive could be for Terri or Dede or both to harm Kyron.
Yeah, they were baffled. They just couldn't believe what was going on, and this caught them off guard, both of them.
Yeah, Bigfoot barbecue. Boy, we all thought this was going to be an open and shut case back in the day. It was heartbreaking to see that this has been stalled for so many years. We're going on 14 years.
Right.
This June will be 14. How crazy to think about that. 14 years.
Right.
To me, it feels like it was just yesterday, because I remember seeing it all over the news. I remember watching it. I remember talking to everybody that I knew about it back then, because I couldn't believe like it happened right here. Just so crazy to think of that 14 years has gone by.
I know. And I say all the time, I totally agree with you on that comment there. Bigfoot barbecue, an open and shut case is what I think the police also thought it might be. I mean, they were warning the parents that this is a marathon, not a sprint, but they also, I feel like, were putting so much into the investigation because they felt like he was right at their fingertips. There's only so far they could have gone in that amount of time they were gone, you know? So
yeah, and they were even talking back then about an arrest is imminent. Yep. And then slowly but surely that like went away. But what happened back then was the other missing child case. Take the words out of my mouth, Kaylia.
Which one?
Because that's when the other little girl,
Lindsay.
No. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I am forgetting her name. It
Casey
is
Anthony's daughter.
Casey Anthony.
Kaylee. Okay, I thought you meant more local. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
No, but no, that's when that happened, and then everything goes to court, and then she's not even, the jury doesn't even find her guilty. So I think Oregon, the DA's office, and everybody involved was just like, wait a minute, we don't want to go out this too fast. If we do, you know, we get one time, one chance to do this. And if we don't do it right, she's going to walk free for forever. But still, like 14 years, it's just hard to imagine. Hello, Chuck. Nice to see you. How are you doing? You're listening and driving. I hope you're driving somewhere beautiful. I need a long, long drive. But yeah, the Casey Anthony, thing happens, and then it just seemed like everything went at a standstill.
Yeah.
And let's talk about motives, okay? So in the back of the book, there are many, many people close to the family, friends of the family members, even Tony, Kyron's stepfather, Desiree Young, Kyron's mom. They all make, how do I word that? They're pretty much in there giving their take on what they think happened to Kyron.
Yeah. In their own words. Yeah.
Yeah, in their own words. And I really, really want to go over this. I thought it was really super important. So, do you happen to have these handy, hun, or you want me to pull it up?
I can read these. Yeah. So this is in conclusion. Terri Newell, they contributed to the book. They are a friend, a longtime friend through police and law enforcement of Kyron's stepdad, Tony Young. And he says, at first, I didn't think it was planned. Now I think it was. You can tell by Terri's emails showing her distaste of Kyron. She came up with a plan. It was almost the last day of school. The school science fair was a diversion. She took pictures. What she didn't anticipate was the police would be on it so quickly. I think she unalived Kyron, disposed of his body, probably in the Columbia River, Savi's Island. The current took him somewhere. Access to the river is easy. I've told Desiree that one day we'll find out what happened.
Now, who is Terri Newell? Do you know?
He's a friend of Tony Young through police. I think they went to police academy or something like that. It's explained in the beginning of the book. I just don't have it handy right here. I could look. Though.
Yeah, and what is really, what he has to say here is what a lot of people think. A lot of people think that he is either on Savi Island or in the water on Savi Island. A lot of people think that.
Yeah, that is a common theory out there for where he could be. Okay, Amanda Losi. I don't know for sure who this person is. I think maybe a friend of Terri or somebody from the gym, maybe. It says, one thing that bothered me was how Terri parked far away from the Fred Meyer parking lot. And did the police find the cold medicine? I told Desiree the police have to get that. And she said, yes, I know. They never did. She is a very strong woman. She had a lot of heartache. She doesn't like to take no for an answer. She's a fighter. And it was very hard on their marriage. I can believe that. I definitely believe that was very hard on Tony and her marriage.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of people that talk about that medicine. It wasn't an antibiotic that was picked up. Kiara had already finished her medicine that week. She was going to get some Tylenol. There was a recall, but the recall did not start some kind of shortage, according to the FDA. And, there are a lot of people that think, things about it's just really strange that they didn't ever find the medicine anywhere.
Yeah, that she drove to 2 stores to. Yeah, very strange. Jeff Young writes, there was hesitancy to arrest Terri. The police never leaned on her. They could have leaned on her if Kaine had disclosed more, but it would make him look bad. Sorry, guys. She had a super attorney. What I think happened is based on my conversations with Tony Newell. I think Terri and Kaine fought until 3 a.m. on June 4th. She took Kyron to school, made an appearance, then they walked out. She might have driven to Savi's Island, you can read on the screen. Don't want to say that because YouTube will be upset, and dumped him. I have a friend who is a Navy SEAL diver. He told me, you go down 2 or 3 feet, you're never seen again. It's a swamp. Desiree has acknowledged that Kyron is unalive. I wonder what Kaine has to gain by saying that someone has Kyron.
I just think that just comes down to the fact that he just doesn't want to believe that his son is gone.
Yeah.
You know, and if you were a parent, you don't want to give up hope. You don't want to give up that belief that your child is gone, like at all. You don't want to do it. You wouldn't do it. I probably wouldn't do it. And then you have parents that are in denial, and then you have parents that accept it. But until my child was found, one way or another, I'm finding my child.
Exactly.
Whether they're unalive or alive. That's
never
what
stopping.
It comes down to.
Exactly.
Yep,
Never your
going
very
to
last
stop.
breath. I will say I'm never going to put words in anybody else's mouth, but I have speculated to myself, this is my own opinion. This book was written before the evidence that, you know, if you're in our Kyron community, you have probably heard the Kyron Horman World Soldier Facebook group mention that there's evidence out there that Kyron is unalive. And this book was written before that. And to my knowledge, I've never seen Kaine, who is pretty more private than Desiree, but I've never seen him also since this new quote unquote alleged evidence has been discovered. I've never heard him say that he the one way or the other. Okay, so I don't know. I just want to say that this was before that evidence that we all hear in the Kyron community.
And they did that show back in 2022 that was after the fact, and it wasn't mentioned in there. And usually always in every single news report or show that he does, it's always shows
mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah. And that one, you're right. He didn't. So it's just a little bit of a change. I also got to meet Kyron Horman briefly recently. So, and in my own interaction, which I haven't shared and I'm not going to share tonight right now, but maybe one day in another live, we can talk more about that. But yeah, I don't know if, in my own opinion, I don't know if that's still the case because he hasn't said it since that new evidence has been discovered. So
I know, I was so jealous that you got to go. I wanted to go.
yes.
I can't even remember what I think it was like grandbaby's birthday or something, but
it's right when you were really busy with the wedding stuff. So yeah, I know I was like, let's go. And you're like, I just can't. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing it alone, but it was still worth it. Yeah.
And then this is Quinn. This is Kyron's stepbrother, Desiree's son, correct?
Yes. Her no, not his stepbrother, his half-brother.
Half-brother, sorry.
Yeah. He says, I felt betrayed by Terri, betrayed by someone close to me. It was hard not to see the news. It was everywhere. Watching my mom has been hard. I try and sit back and evaluate the best way to help her. I'll ask her, do you want to talk to me? I didn't confide in my friends. Now when I'm dating, I don't unload the baggage immediately. I learned that the hard way. I fantasize about conversations I would have with Kyron. He liked soccer. He would put himself into things he cared about. Kyron is more affectionate than me. He'd come into a room and hug you for no reason. And then he writes, I miss him, or let's go to the next page. See what he finished up. I miss stepping on Kyron's cars, watching SpongeBob with him. I dream he is still 7. Oh, that's really, really heartbreaking. I've read this before, but I know that I screenshotted these, but I didn't read through them. This is the first time I've read through them in a while.
Yeah, it is really heartbreaking to hear him, and he ended up having to have a talk with his mom, like, Mom, I know Kyron isn't here right now. I know he's missing, but we got to do something with this bedroom because, she was keeping all the stuffed animals. She was keeping everything. Desiree herself said it was kind of like a shrine in the bedroom. And then after he had to talk to his mom about all of that, she cleaned some of it up and then kept some of it. But, Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, how heartbreaking it was for him to see his mom go through that, to have his brother missing,
Yeah.
and he was,
So
I can't
hard.
even remember how old Quinn was.
He was also in his teens. I think he might have been 16 to 17.
I want to say, wasn't Quinn and James around the same age?
Yeah, I believe so. They were only, if anything, 2 years apart.
Yeah. So, a young man
Yeah.
going through their change, going through everything. Brother, we don't ever say half and step around here. I can't
No,
even,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't. But yeah,
right?
it really doesn't.
Never done that ever in my life.
Yeah. Alice Jacobson is a friend of the family that contributed to the book. And she writes, when Kyron went missing, it was shocking that there are people in the world who would harm a child. I kept thinking we'd have an answer soon. Terri got Kyron out of the school. Witnesses saw him leave. Was there a second car? She did something. I don't know if Dede was involved. I want to believe Terri sold him, that he is alive. Miracles do happen. Children have been found. Ellie has had some therapy, not necessarily all about Kyron, more about normal teenage stuff unrelated to Kyron. She dislikes school. That may have started then. Several times since 2010, a detective has contacted me and wants to meet for coffee. Sometimes he meets with a group of us mothers whose children were in the school with Kyron. He asks us if we remembered anything. So, yeah.
I mean, and she mentions another thing. She believes that he may have been sold. There are a lot of people that say that think that. After I spoke with law enforcement and I spoke to Detective Tabor, I no longer think that. Maybe 10-15% of me did long ago. I no longer believe that at all. I don't believe that the detectives are looking over there.
Yeah.
Or looking anywhere but local, and that's pretty much what Detective Tabor told me, was that it was a local investigation.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'll continue. Beth Greer, she is a volunteer who runs the Missing Kyron Horman Facebook page. She says, I don't know what Terri did. I do think Dede played a part. Maybe she took care of Kayla, Kyron's little sister, while Terri did whatever. And then Wendy Gorman, another person who contributed to the book, writes, I think about what I've read about child trafficking. You want to go to the next page?
Uh-huh.
Maybe he's out there. I pray he will come knocking on her door someday. I, again, don't think that any of these people would have been writing this if this was 2 years later. Because, again, Kyron's mom, one of the closest advocates to her, is constantly saying that there's evidence he's no longer with us. So Kelly Ramirez is, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm just sorry. I just want to say that I hate even just talking about it. I just want to put that out there because I feel like it's very conflicting and it comes up a lot. But I do believe what Kyron's parents say and what the advocates that have been working out there since day one, what they have to say as well.
And these parents are privy to information that we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And why would the parents of Kyron lie about anything whatsoever when it could hinder their son's case?
Exactly.
And when you watch them when they're doing, interviews and stuff, you don't see them do anything but breaking down. You don't see them anything but heartbroken. They're very sincere. They honestly have no reason to lie whatsoever. Their son's missing.
And they don't even have
and I wholeheartedly believe every word that they say.
Me too. And you know what? They don't have any like that video you showed where they're confused about what Terri's motive was. They weren't sitting there saying that, oh, she's this horrible person. All of that was something that was being discovered as they were investigating her. And it slowly and slowly and slowly unraveled. And then this hatred grew. I mean, what do you expect as a freaking parents of the child who's gone? And that now you know, wow, this person I trusted so much is absolutely horrible. Look at all this stuff that was happening behind my back. You can see from the video that Samantha just showed, they didn't know all that yet. They were saying, I have no idea why she would do this. Everything was fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then you have people that they hear things. Well, you have to remember, okay, so he's been missing 14 years. So in 2010, when he came up missing, and on June 4th, 2010, in 2010, even say August, the information in August of 2010 isn't the same information in June 2010.
Right.
They start collecting information. Information starts changing year after year, month after month. Now, 14 years later, yeah, some of the stuff that you hear back in June of 2010 may not be the same now. They may have collected new evidence to prove or disprove this or that, or, whatever. So information changes along the way. For instance, Terri Horman showing up to the gym. She said it was 11:39. Everybody believes she got there at 11:39, but camera footage shows her getting there at 12:20 p.m. And then that in itself adds a whole nother 40 minutes to her entire timeline. People talk about, well, I thought her timeline was 90 minutes. And then later on, I thought her timeline was this and that. I mean, according to the book, Terri Horman was missing 2.5 to almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
And that's what's been proven now, 14 years later.
Yep, exactly. Kelly Ramirez, who is Kyron's aunt, writes, Kyron was taken and I know Terri was involved. It changed Mason's whole world. He's had severe anxiety. He's in high school. He plays sports and is interested in graphic design. Mason rarely talks about his friends or talks with his friends about Kyron. Sometimes they'll ask questions. His teachers help with that. We went to the Wall of Hope several times. We took balloons and small toys we thought Kyron would like. Mason participated in car washes and fundraisers. We released red balloons on Kyron's birthday and leave balloons on Desiree's doorstep. Mason misses being with Kyron. And that's Mason. Mason was best friends with Kyron. They were cousins. And Mason himself actually wrote, I have blocked out a lot. I dream that we are in Kyron's bedroom. I'm on the top bunk. Kyron's on the bottom, just like it used to be when I slept over. Kyron is still 7. I miss being with him. He was taken. Terri was involved.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just so heartbreaking to hear like all these family members and stuff. The book Boy Missing was written by Rebecca Morris. Desiree Young gave her input to Rebecca in order to write the book. And if you don't know all of Kyron Horman's story, the book Boy Missing is the best.
Yeah, it's a great place to start.
Get to know the case.
Katie Ivins, I'm not familiar with who this person is on the top of my head. The $1 million question is, why not arrest Terri? Why? We all ask that all the time. The MCSO's biggest fear is that Terri would be acquitted and then Kyron is found. You either need evidence. Let's turn the page. You either need evidence, like the last person with them, license plates, DNA, a Latin print, a set of facts, or a confession, or a witness. But a confession isn't enough. There must be evidence to support a confession. When there's no confession, circumstantial evidence is important. It was a reality check for people when Tony came back to work. What do you say? What are the boundaries? You didn't want to overstep the line. You didn't want to step over the line in the stand. What's too much and what's too little? I noted men and women are different in processing and healing. I completely related. Desiree wants to know that Kyron hasn't been forgotten. Men are different. They go back to normal. It was painful for Tony. He never got a break. You've talked it to... When Tony went to work, it was a reprieve for him. a distraction, but it was really raw. I have never asked him anything new. We go to coffee and laugh, or he shares a frustration. I've never pried. It's a horrible spot to be in, hoping to find Kyron. And then it says Kyron's remains. And
Yeah, that's the woman that Tony Young does investigations and stuff with. But I mean, how hard would it be to be a detective, have your stepson come up missing, knowing that you can't do a damn thing. All you can do is let law enforcement do their thing. And you have all these instincts. You have all of this stuff going through your head. You can't put yourself into the investigation. You know what I mean? Like, it would be
yeah,
really difficult to
yeah,
just not
exactly.
start investigating yourself.
Right. I'm sure it's just a really difficult line to keep straight. Yep, I agree.
New member.
Woohoo!
We got a new member. Thank you, Tabitha, so much.
Thank
We appreciate every single one of you guys for being here. Thank you so much for becoming a member. This is amazing.
Yes, thank you.
Very first
We appreciate the support
tonight. Yeah, you were one of the, I don't know, second or third member tonight. Oh yeah, because Kaylia became a member on accident. But yeah, this live was the first night that we had our memberships up. So yeah, it was super awesome.
Yes, I membershiped our own channel. That's funny. Terry Newell again. He continues, Tony and I fish together. Whenever he needs to talk, he can. He'll bring up Terry's arrests, or I will. He'll bounce something off me about the case, something he'd like to see done. He'd like to see Terry charged for conspiracy to commit the M word, for the plot to unalive Kaine. I've seen families break up after a case like this. Tony and Dede are as strong as they have ever been. No infidelity, no, you know what, no drinking. Just trying to adhere by YouTube because they don't like some words like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it looks like they're really good friends, Tony Newell and Tony, Terri Newell and Tony. Tony says the first year was hell. It was our first year of marriage too. Oh my gosh, I'm sure that was. I forgot it was their first year of marriage. I'm honestly, how amazing that they stuck it through that. I'm sure their marriage was tested to the brink, but how amazing that they made it. That's so awesome. Press conferences, the media, his birthday, anniversaries. I saw so many things in Desiree I didn't know were there. She is strong. I think it's possible that if we hadn't married the year before Kaine disappeared, we might not have married. We got through it. It's interesting to see people in a crisis. It's like a survivor movie when the plane crashes. You see who steps up. People can surprise you. Desiree was shy. If you'd known her before, it is amazing what she has done. You wouldn't believe it. But like Desi says, Terry's not going to take another thing from us. We can't stop living. We can have fun. I go do things I did before, but it's always there. We do real good around the house. It's normal until we get a call or a visitor. It's at a good place, a better balance now. I still get grumpy. People come up to me at the grocery store and want to get into the meat of it. It's horrible. A stranger will start a conversation. I don't mind being asked by people at work because they're family.
Tabitha says, yeah, hey, if you can get through that, you can get through anything. That's so true.
Mm-hmm. Tad DeBias, he's an expert in no body cases. His opinion says, why do police wait to bring charges? They don't believe they have enough evidence. Only the strongest cases go to trial. Police hold out hope they'll find a body. I can understand if a child has been missing 2 or 3 years, it's worth waiting and searching, but not 10 years. How much more will the police ever learn? I do remember reading this one. And I agree with what he's saying here. How much more will the police ever find or know? Probably not much. Yes, they have to prove that Kyron is unalive, but it's possible. He hasn't been seen at school. He was a happy kid, and ask a lot of people, have you seen him? Which nobody has ever. I mean, there have been, like, when he first went missing, because there were kids that looked like him. I know that there are a lot of viral, like, oh, maybe this is that kid with glasses, but the police have looked into all of them, and he's never ever been like a
They had
credible sighting.
one. Yeah, there was one across the country where somebody saw a boy that looked like Kyron in a van, and they went across the country to go look because the pictures looked so identical. And I've actually seen quite a few pictures of boys that have been sent to me. There were a few in the discussion group that, and one of them and another boy that was on TikTok, because somebody had passed a profile from there, we had looked at, and it came really close to, oh my God, could this be Kyron? And of course it ended up not being him, but yeah, there have been some pretty close calls.
Tony continues, at the 5-year mark at a briefing, I told the detectives that they have to have a plan when they find Kyron. I hope they are ready to do everything but go and grab Terri. They need to keep a lid on it. They need to prepare now, like it's going to happen tomorrow. The day he's found, they've got to be ready. Ready with search warrants, affidavits, ready to contact a judge, to order phone taps, ready for when the media comes. You lose if you don't have a plan. You don't put her in jail right away. Not until you're ready. People think that when someone is handcuffed, the case is over. It isn't. I think we will eventually know what happened. I hope it's in our lifetime. He's obviously not alive. I hope we get answers. I want Terri to be held responsible. I thought she'd crack, but she hasn't yet. I know she'll be held accountable.
It's crazy to hear him say that he doesn't believe that Kyron is alive.
Yeah.
Because he's a detective, and that's just really telling to hear him say. And just like he was saying before, like how strangers come up, you know, he doesn't mind people at work coming up and talking to him, but to have strangers come up, I mean, that would be really difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
especially back then in 2010, 11, 12, when everybody was still talking about Kyron. I mean, I'm not sure how often it happens now, but this book was written and put out like what, 2018?
20. I think, yeah, it was written, I think, over a several year period, but it was released in 2020, I'm fairly certain.
Yeah, released in 2020, but being written, yeah, 2018, 2019. And then you have, you know, the stepfather saying that it's just devastating to even think about. But, you know, preparing for the worst, hoping for the best is really all you could do after so long.
Mm-hmm. And Bremer, you hear people say, oh, it's a circumstantial case. Well, that's not the way to approach it. The way to approach it is to say, this is a strong circumstantial case. Circumstantial evidence can be great. Evidence doesn't lie. That's true. Evidence doesn't lie, but people can lie. But evidence doesn't. It is what it is. When you put together the pieces, it all adds up to guilt. Falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. False in one thing, false in everything. Yep.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, you almost need like a fat liar video right now, because Terri is literally master manipulator, liar. And I believe in the video we're going to be showing here shortly, Desiree even calls her pathological liar.
Tony Young continues, what Terri did was more simple than we think. Parts were planned. She knew school procedures. She had thought about it, but that day it went into motion. If she had been interrupted in any way, she would have abandoned the plan. I think she took him to a place. She did that to him. That's based on a personal nature of hatred for him. I don't think she had the stomach for a real graphic kind of unaliving. I don't think she'd like the unpleasantness. She'd want to get rid of his remains quickly. Whatever was easiest. Proximity was important. She may have dug a hole to bury him. I think she pre-selected a spot. Kyron was unalived at that spot, not in the truck, not where someone could see her. The odds of finding him are better if he were buried. The after part of the plan was not well planned out. One thing going for her was the terrain. It's tough to find remains. Remains don't announce themselves. It will be more difficult if he's in the water. I don't rule out Sauvie Island. Fishermen have fallen out of boats, were taken out to sea, and never seen again. I don't think Dede was involved. I don't think she left the nursery with Terri. She was just unaccounted for a couple hours. Even the dregs of society.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. Even the dregs of society I've seen in my work would not harm a child. Terri has eluded arrest because she acted alone. This crime was committed alone. I hate how lucky she is.
Yeah, he talks about it being done alone. Kaine and Desiree, on the other hand, have adamantly throughout the years said she has had help. They think it was Dede and possibly somebody else. I don't understand why Tony seems to think it was just Terri, but that also falls into something that I spoke of long ago before I ever started looking into Dede. It was kind of like, she's smarter than that to get anybody involved, because why would you get anybody involved in doing anything to a child? Somebody's going to fold, somebody's going to flip, say something later down the road. You're both going to end up going down for it. Mm-hmm. But now, after looking through everything, talking about Dede, all the lives that we've done, I just don't believe that. I actually believe Dede could have been the one who whispered in Terry's ear, hey, why don't we do this? Hey, why don't we do that? Like, maybe it was Dede's idea for the plot to hurt Kaine. Maybe it was her idea, if that didn't work, to, hey, if it's such a problem, let's, get rid of the child, which we're going to go into more of why we think as soon as we hear from Desiree Young and what she has to say, because this is where the goodies start coming in as far as motives.
Desiree says, I believe that Terri Horman knows where Kyron is. I believe that Terri Horman is responsible for where my son is. I think she sedated him with Kayla's medicine and took him somewhere. I think she thought it wouldn't be a big deal. Kyron's disappearance would blow over, or she wanted to unalive Kaine, give Kyron to me, and get Kaine's life insurance and Kayla. No matter the outcome, no matter what Terri did that day, we still have to find Kyron. We still need to get answers, and we still need to hold her accountable. I wait for the phone call every day to tell me he's coming home. I have begged detectives to notify me first so I can get to Portland. I hope that I am wrong, but I fear that he is gone forever. I know families who've been waiting 30 years for justice. That's not going to be our family. They're not going to prosecute Terri until they find Kyron, and that's why it's my mission. I'm going to find answers. I'm going to find Kyron if I have to do it myself.
And she has been determined and has not stopped one little bit. She's always looking for Kyron. Bigfoot Barbecue says there are very big old properties all over there. My grandpa had a huge farm up there. My auntie had a huge farm up there. There are so many abandoned wells up there and property. Yeah, we actually just looked into some of the wells in the area. One of our admins sent the wells to the detective, and I need to get a hold of the detective again about some more information that we found out on Dede Spicher here soon about a well on a piece of property that she spent a lot of time on. But yeah, there are a lot of wells.
Mm-hmm. A lot. Yeah, that's a very rural property, and they're old. So yeah, makes sense that a lot of them run on wells. Makes sense.
Yeah, and in this right here, you have Desiree saying she thinks, that Kiara's medicine was used. A lot of people think it was medicine. You know, you have people saying that Terri did something with her hands around Kyron's, you know, area. And, you know, I don't know if she would have it in her to do something like that or not. I just don't know. She seems like an angry person to me. I mean, she's holding a KNIFE to the guy's throat down in California, her ex-boyfriend, and then gets
Yeah.
domestic violence charges put against her. And she's threatening him at the time to unalive him and his family. So
Yeah, you're right. We can't hold it past her. You know, I mean, if somebody is going to be able to do such a heinous act and hurt a child, then you have to be honest with yourself that, hey, they would be willing to do it in whatever way it would take if they were going to, like,
mhm.
yeah.
And also the biggest red flag here, Desiree Young mentions Kaine's life insurance policy. So let's start talking about motives. We're really going to start getting into the motives now. So Kaine had a life insurance policy. Desiree mentions it here. And maybe that's why she wanted to do the plot and the hire to harm Kaine.
Right.
Was to get that life insurance policy, because here's what you got here. You've got a custody thing. The year before Kyron disappears, they're fighting all the time. And they're talking about divorce all the time. Now she's thinking about, oh gosh, I got Kiara, you know, he's making a lot of money, which we'll go into that in a second. He's making a lot of money. I'm not working. You know, siblings don't usually get separated. So Kaine has Kyron. So she's already thinking maybe in her head, allegedly, you know, we've got this custody issue. So maybe if I get rid of Kaine, then Kyron can go live with mom. I'll get the life insurance money. Me and Kiara can live happily ever after.
hmm And when that didn't work, there had to be another plan. And I do believe, in my own opinion, that Terri planned this for a long time because she had an older son who we talked about. You know, he was 16 at the time. His name was James. And before, like in
5 months, 6
2009,
months prior.
yeah, even before that, in 2009, I mean, Kaine and Terri had been together since Kyron was a baby, right? So James and has been in Kaine's life for a long time. Kaine has been a stepfather figure in James's life for a long time. And in 2009, after this alleged plot against Kaine, where Terri had tried to seduce a landscaper into unaliving Kaine, Terri takes James through the court system and changes his name from his last name at the time, which I believe was Ecker, and changed it to her maiden name. And it just makes you wonder, why didn't she at that time just go through with an adoption with Kaine? I mean, I don't know their family dynamics. Maybe Kaine didn't want to adopt James, but he had been a father figure in James's life all that time, and James's own dad had not been. He had not been present in James's life. It would have been a non-issue for Kaine to step up, but instead she decided, I'm going to change his name to Molten. And then a month later,
like, James even said that Kaine was more of a father than anybody that's ever been in his life.
yeah. And then just a month after she changes his name to Molten, her maiden name, she sends him off to go live with her grandparents in Roseburg, Oregon. And at that point, he basically says she abandoned him. And yeah, he had to go. Had to go figure out life after that point. And she lied to people at the gym and blamed Kaine for kicking James out when that was a lie. And again, in my opinion, I think that's because she cares so deeply about what people believe and what they perceive of her, that she didn't want to take the blame for that. So she was going to blame Kaine. It was easier for her to say that he's the crappy parent or whatever than her. And yeah, so she was trying to get kids out of her house, and it sounds like to me, get ducks in a row for whatever her plan ended up coming out. And I believe Desiree said it right. She didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but boy, was she wrong.
Well, yeah, and well, the biggest red flag to me here is that she sends James off and then talks to the landscaper to get rid of Kaine. Like, it was like part of her plan. Like, she couldn't continue doing her plan with him there. He was older. He could have heard conversations she was having, who was coming around her house at the time. I think she needed him gone.
Yeah.
Because it was just 5 months prior to Kyron disappearing when she hired or tried to hire this landscaper. And we're about to get into that and get into about this life insurance policy and Kaine's money. So let's see. Can you read this?
Yeah, this is
the court document.
Yep.
That talks about how much money Kaine was making a month.
Yeah, his gross income at the time. I know it's always awkward to talk about, but if we're talking motives, money is a massive motivator. It's in a lot of unaliving plots. That's probably the number one, life insurance. And his gross monthly income was $13,721 per month. Imagine what his life insurance policy had to have been. We're not just talking
explosive.
Yeah, we're not talking a little bit here. He was making a great amount of money. Terri was a stay-at-home mom. The house was in his name. She would have gotten all of that, and Kyron would have been able to get, like Desiree said, sent off to Desiree, and she would have been fine. And that was her plan A.
And don't forget how many times she's manipulated people, stolen from people, and done things to get money. Money is a huge motivator for her. Almost $14,000 a month. That is a lot of money. That's almost $170,000 a year. And, that's not even including bonuses. And he works for Intel. And I mean, their bonuses and everything else. So you can pretty much guarantee close to $200,000, harming him allegedly to get life insurance policy. And while let's just talk about that. We're theorizing, we're speculating. These are all alleged, things we're going to talk about here, but these are very important things to know and consider as far as motives, because we're not the only ones talking about it. You have Desiree right there in the book talking about maybe it was for Kaine's life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And then, did you talk about what other thing I highlighted here? What does that say?
It says husband has one non-joint child, Kyron.
It just kind of goes into the custody thing that Kyron is Kaine's, and if they divorced, not many judges are going to split the siblings up, especially when one parent's not making money and the other one's making a lot of money. Plus, obviously, he's going to have a lot more money to spend on attorney fees as well.
And let's just be real. I mean, there's a lot of Desiree has mentioned that it was a point of contention. Kaine didn't let Desiree have custody of Kyron. And I'm sure Terri was thinking the same thing. There's no way he's going to fight for custody. He's probably going to win it, and he's going to not let me have it, just like he did to Desiree. Because she was there right along the right of that as well, It would have happened to her too. So this is just a little snippet of a disposition. Unfortunately, the page before it, page 73, this is page 74. Page 73 wasn't made public. This was also included in Terri's and Kaine's divorce and custody proceedings. They disposed the landscaper who Terri allegedly came to try to unalive Kaine. And there was a question asked to the landscaper, and the landscaper replies that the state can help them for all those things for domestic violence. So he's replying obviously about something that the state can help. And then Terri's attorney asks, my question to you, oh, he's reiterating, perfect. My question to you, Mr. Sanchez, is what organizations did you tell her could help her? And he said, I didn't tell her about any organization. Just know that the state offers help of that type of thing to people. So he basically is saying that, this is relevant. I think we might have done it in backwards order. It goes with what that lady says. Do you have that screenshot?
No, I didn't throw that in there.
Oh, okay. Well, this is important because somebody had posted a firsthand comment somewhere, like in, one of those early on forums it was really, really popular to talk about this before, Facebook groups and stuff like that were so popular. People would talk on the web sleuths and scared monkeys. So this is on one of those sites, and this is actually this was around when he was disposed, but I don't think this was when this deposition would have been released. So this to me seems legit. It validates what we're seeing on the screen. Someone here wrote, I happen to know the poor landscaper that was thrown in the middle of this plot. He was not asked to do it for money, just for protection. Terri said the marriage wasn't going well and that he had all the money and control, so she needed a way out. The landscaper suggested she get a job and move out and have state services help her in getting custody of her daughter. The next time she spoke to him, she told him that she had filed for divorce. He did not work for her or speak to her again. At the time, he felt that she had been distraught and didn't know how to get out of an ugly marriage. He also was led to believe that she had taken his advice. Now he feels horrible what has taken place so many months later. On top of that, he and his family are being hounded by media, and he's fearful of losing his business, all because this horrible woman approached him with a favor that he obviously refused. If you knew the guy, you would wonder why on earth she would even think that he would be the type to do such a thing. He's just a nice guy. It goes on. We've posted it in our group. We can even go on to post it again. But
yeah, the link is inside the description for the Kyron Horman group and the Missing PNW group, just in case anybody wants to know. Because there's also talk about the fact that, people say that the landscaper couldn't speak English and Terri couldn't speak Spanish. Well, we know from a woman that knew Terri's ex-boyfriend that Terri went to school and speaks fluent Spanish. We also know that the landscaper can speak English because an old admin from long ago had spoken with him, and he speaks English on video clips that are on his Facebook because we have stalked it. So the communication thing was there. Apparently, allegedly, they met up to eat or something. She had the baby with her. Terri brings up this subject, says that she's mentally, physically being abused and wants him to harm Kaine, and that there's like $100,000 always on him at all times, or no, $10,000, excuse me, on him at all times. And apparently you could act like this was some kind of a mugging and take that $10,000. Later on, there was a sting operation done where this landscaper gets wired up, goes with an not an off-duty, but
undercover.
Yes, an undercover detective. They go knock on Terri's door. They try to get her to talk about it. They try to get her to give them the money, or they're going to go talk to law enforcement. Well, I think law enforcement's biggest mess up was not just sending him there by himself, because I don't think Terri is dumb enough to talk about any of it in front of somebody else. And that's my personal opinion. I think they should have sent this landscaper wired up by himself and sat down the road, and not a stranger walking up behind him, because that just does not make sense. And then there have been many, many people talk about this connection. I actually found a connection between Dede, Terri, and this landscaper, because Dede Spicer worked for Jean Vaughn, and she was interning with her before going and interning with Miss Hawkinsmith at West Wind Farm Studios. And while she was working for Miss Vaughn at that farm, Rudy Sanchez was also hired. Although Dede says she didn't know the landscaper, they worked together prior to her moving to her next job, the job she got just a couple of months before Kyron disappears, the job that she didn't have long after Kyron disappears, and the job that happens to be right down the road from Skyline School. I personally find all that information very suspicious. This is a triangle here of 3 people. That's why I also consider the fact that Dede could have been involved in this get rid of Kaine plot, because I believe that Dede and the landscaper knew each other. I think she's the one who introduced the landscaper to Terri and had Terri hire him to go on to her property to work, which Kaine never knew about this landscaper. Why would that be? Why wouldn't he know about this landscaper that's working on his property doing landscaping? Terri says it was to take all of the work off of James.
Yep.
But it doesn't all make sense.
It doesn't. It's just another red flag of suspicion. Very suspicious. Kaine had no idea for months, several months, Terri was having a landscaper come landscape the house, and then giving credit to her teenage son and saying James was the one who was doing it and paying for it out of her own pocket so she wasn't getting caught. And then she also allegedly, according to her court documents again with Kaine, she was sexting the landscaper. She was also leading him on. Now, I personally am 50-50. I definitely believe that there's a connection between the 3. I don't know how I feel about, I could see how what this comment that I read that we didn't put up, I could see how that was true, how it was approached to him in a different way, but not outright. She was trying to manipulate him, but not outright just, hey, I'm actually hiring you to do this to do against my husband. She was
and our opinions differ.
Him.
Yeah, and me and you, our opinions differ on this because you and I talked about this earlier this week. So, Kalia, how would you feel if I just nonchalantly, in a very manipulative kind of way, say, hey, why don't you do this to my husband? Act like it's a mugging, take the $10,000. Thanks very much. He's mentally and physically abused. I think it's weird. I think it is weird that he didn't go and tell law enforcement sooner, because I am telling you right now, seriously, if one of my best friends, one of my family members, anybody came to me seriously asking me to harm another person, I'm going to law enforcement. I'm going to tell somebody. I'm not waiting 5 months for a child to disappear and then go, oh no.
I know,
and then was his oh no like, oh, I better tell everybody what she did? Or was it more like, hey, maybe if I come forward and I tell them everything that I know about this, maybe I'll get away with whatever else I could have done, or, they're not going to throw me under the bus.
I'm sure they looked into it. I mean, I feel like they found it credible in some sort, and they definitely had evidence that she was also manipulating him sexually, with the sex and stuff, and they were having an affair with each other. Things were highly charged. But also, I agree with you. You can't really, without hearing straight from the dude's mouth, I have no excuse. I have no reason. I just think that the police, if he was really involved in some way, like and on a deeper level, we can say, why didn't you come forward? Of course. But that doesn't mean I think you actually had knowledge that she was going to do this to Kyron. you
Well, then
know?
if you think about it like this too, if you say, okay, sure, law enforcement looked into it all. Well, law enforcement didn't even put the triangle together until I sent the detective the information. And then he was like, oh my God, you just found the connection. So, I mean, like, they didn't even know the connection between Dede and the landscaper or any of that.
Right.
That was,
Yeah.
so it's like, where does that triangle sit now? That's what they may have been looking into earlier. Maybe they didn't. But now that they've been able to connect the dots, do they think differently now?
Yeah. They probably never knew that because Dede never gave them any information. Dede was never cooperative. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love it that me and you can talk about things and have our own opinions, not get upset with each other. It leads to such great conversations. It leads to just great speculation. I mean, because I get where you're coming from. I see it from my point of view. I also see it from other people's point of view. I know a lot of people think that the landscaper could be possibly the third person.
Yeah.
Because there was a person in or around Terri Horman's truck in front of the school. I don't think that the police, when they put that out, whether it was a man or a woman on purpose, because I think they wanted to see, and I believe you were the one who pointed this out to me, that they wanted to see if witnesses, if they did see anything, would say whether it was a man or a woman.
Yeah. They purposely were being descriptionless on the witness or what the witness saw. They just said there may have been somebody and we want the public to tell us to confirm, is this witness right or not? Did anyone else see this?
Exactly. Hello, Death by Chocolate. It is amazing to see you. You were late in listening. That's all right. We love it. When you come, you're like one of our biggest supporter. We appreciate you being here. Plus, we're just really getting into the goody goodies anyway. We talked about a life insurance policy that Kaine had. We talked about the fact that he was making almost $14,000 a month, and that could have been motive for Terri to want to do something because of this custody thing. There's going to be a divorce. There's 2 children. If they get a divorce, is a judge going to, separate 2 siblings? And, is this why the plot to hurt Kaine? We're pausing and we're talking so slowly tonight. I'm proud of us because we are not spitting out the wrong words. I caught myself going super slow and I just giggled.
I love it.
But now we're really going to get into, we've got some interviews. I want to go over just this news thing. Terri Moulton, Kyron Horman's stepmother, is a profile in contradiction. While never specifically calling her a suspect or even a person of interest, investigators have released flyers with her picture on it, grilled her friends, and searched their homes. Allegations of a murder for hire plot and text messages have turned up in court documents buttressing her estranged husband's divorce case. Interviews with more than a dozen friends, relatives, former colleagues, and neighbors paint a complex and contradictory picture of a woman with immense personal charm who can be both supportive and self-centered, sometimes giving, sometimes demanding. She has a few close friends who have stood by her while she has been vilified in blogs. She has a bachelor's and master's degree in education, but has never held a full-time teaching job. Colleagues say she was a dedicated teacher, yet during the past year, she cracked down on Kyron when he had a bad day at school. Still, no one said they could imagine a woman who has devoted so much of her life to children could have been involved in his disappearance. And Kaine says, I would agree with that statement up until a point in time, said Kyron Horman, her 36-year-old estranged husband, who has filed for divorce and obtained a restraining order against her. I know a lot of things, know that I didn't before, and now I think there is a huge problem. I don't know what she's not capable of at this point. Her attitude changed in the past year after Kyron entered second grade. He said his teacher, with a color coding system for her class, rated the kids on their behavior. Green was good, yellow was signaled. Moments of inattention, blue indicated trouble, and red sent them home.
Wow. That's excessive.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Red sent them home. I mean, it's a pretty strict school,
That's
huh?
Second grade, man.
Kaine said that the teacher called parents about a blue or red card, but he said his wife, Terri, was the only parent who asked for daily accounts from the teacher. Here we're going into the motive of hatred. Terri's hatred for Kyron. Terri wanted notifications whether it was green, yellow, red, or blue, he said. Every day she wanted it. That, to me, is extremely excessive. That child is only in second grade. He said when Kyron brought home anything but a green card, she wanted Kaine to discipline him by grounding him to his room for the evening, eliminating playtime, or not letting him watch movies. You guys don't forget our last Q&A that we did, or the one before that, we talked about James and his punishments, being grounded to his room, having to have permission to eat, having to have permission to leave his room to go to the bathroom. He also talked about getting spanked with kitchen utensils. He also talked about not being allowed to have books or toys or be able to do anything while he was grounded sitting in his room. And here she is wanting Kaine to help discipline him and ground him to his, or ground Kyron to his room. There was no room for error, Kaine said. The couple frequently argued about disciplining Kyron, he said. At the same time, Terri fired off long emails to Kyron's mother, Desiree Young, prepared with complaints. So she's complaining to Desiree, Kyron's mother. And I'm just saying this right now. Some, stepmom emailing me complaining about my child, I'm going to get pissed off. I'm sorry.
Right?
That's going to upset me. She was venting about the teacher and why she should have her job, Desiree said. And she was venting about Kaine and everything.
Yeah. I mean, we have emails that were leaked. We don't have them here with us. You can Google search them and find them. We have them in the group.
This information is already posted up in our group. I posted all of this stuff last night.
Yep. But yeah, there's definitely, we have read her own emails in her own words complaining, and the complaints are even lies. So.
Right. And then here is another thing. Now, after this, we're going to have two videos. We're going to have Desiree talking about her feelings about Terri. And then we've got a long 15-minute video that we're going to go through as we play it, because Kaine mentions and talks about some pretty outstanding, mind-blowing things when it comes to Terri and what she was doing to Kyron. What she was saying, what she was doing, it just blew my mind when I saw it. KGW.com first reported on Friday that Kyron Horman filed papers opposing his estranged wife's visitation request, stating that he believes Terri Horman abducted and may have caused unimaginable harm to his son, Kyron. The Friday filing was in response to efforts by Terri Horman to gain visitation to her young daughter. KGW independently obtained a copy of Monday's court filing. In it, Kaine suggests that their daughter may have witnessed some unimaginable act of horror on June 4th, the day that Kyron disappeared from Skyline Elementary. Kyron Horman was 7 years old when he disappeared. And in the interview that we're going to show, he talks about this in detail. And it's really heartbreaking. And it's just very telling what he says. And oh, this one actually should have been the first page. My bad. But yeah, he's just talking about an unimaginable act of horror that his daughter may have witnessed. And then we have here a little piece from the book that I wanted Kaylee to pull up out of her book, because I remember reading this last year or so ago, and it was just so telling. But after reading it today, like, I had chills on my arm. This is part of the book. It says the house was filling up. There was Kaine, Terri, and Kayla, which they call, that's Kiara. Her nickname was Kitty, and Desiree, Tony, and Quinn. And this is also on June 4th, 2010. Other family members and friends came and went. So did multiple police officers. Desiree noticed, as did others, that Kiara acted angry at Terri. She avoided her mother and didn't go to her to be held. Instead, she went to Desiree and the others. Was Kiara reacting to the stress in the house, or to something that had happened that day? If only she could speak about what she'd seen. Desiree thought she had presumably been with Terri all morning in the school and in the truck. Terri had said so. How terrifying is this, to think that their daughter could have seen something so horrific as to see her harm Kyron in any way, shape, or form at 18 months old. And then on June 4th, you got police officers there. They're searching for Kyron. They are talking to all of the parents. They're trying to find out exactly what's going on. And in the midst of all of this, this child is acting scared of her mom.
Yeah, and of high energy. Like, kids are sponges. They can pick up on all that. They know when things are very intense. And the fact that she's not wanting her mom in that situation, that speaks volumes. That is super, super, super heartbreaking to think about. Like, and Kiara was with Terri that whole morning.
Yes, unless Kiara was almost 2 years old. She is often referred to as an infant during the time Kyron disappeared, but she wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that could stick with you even if you don't necessarily remember it. Your psyche doesn't forget. Your subconscious never forgets a violent act.
Yeah, and then Chuck's mentioning the P. Diddy stuff and the human trafficking.
Yeah.
I also, rich and famous.
I forgot, this just popped in my head, when Samantha and I were talking about this earlier, without going too astray from the topic, when Chris Watts annihilated his family, his two daughters knew, and he has confessed. He has told what his daughters said in those times. They knew that their mother wasn't alive and that there was something wrong. And then one of the younger sister was then unalived first by Chris, and the older one watched. And even though she was a little older, she was still so young. I mean, I feel like she must have been only 3 or 4 years old at the time, but she could comprehend that, oh my goodness. And Chris says that she asked him, "Are you going to do to me what you did to Mom and Cece?" And he did. And that just shows me that, like, it doesn't matter like young children still 100% can tragically comprehend what is going on and can feel the negative, scary feelings associated with such a violent act. So yeah, I really hate thinking about it. Like,
Yeah, and I mean, they both witnessed their mom too, him doing everything to their mom. Then they witnessed, one of them witnessed, him doing that to their sibling. That is like, yeah, to just even think about a little small child scene like that, that would just be
Yeah.
devastating. Devastating. I mean, I've seen reactions of children when just a parent yells, or a parent, or like a family member yells, or like even just watching football. For instance, my granddaughter, we watch football, and when Seahawks are on, we get like, if something in the middle of something, and we're just like, yeah, like freaks out the babies. I mean,
yeah, they can't help it, right? It's
those
like,
are
whoa.
like loud noises and stuff, but apparently we're talking about monstrous type stuff. I mean, I think that Chris Watts was a monster personally. And then you have
right.
JB0617 talking about the latest on the Sebastian Rogers case. I mean, Trev Time, he was going to be on court TV tonight at 7:30, and I can't wait. When this is over, that's what I'm going to go watch. So if you guys don't know, go watch Trev Time. Kaylee, if it's not too hard for you, can you drop Trev Time or court TV in the link? Because Trev Time has put so much work and effort into the Sebastian Rogers case. He was out there searching. He's been all over all of the platforms. He's putting up flyers. He's doing so much, and I just want to say bravo to him. Bravo to Seth Rogers, the biological dad of Sebastian. He is heartbroken and in pieces. It's very sad to see what he is dealing with. He has not stopped being out there searching for his son for over a month now, and he's a big man. I'm a big woman, and he's a big man, and I'm telling you, he is hurting. His shoulders are hurting. He's hurting. He's out there walking every single day from early in the morning until the sun's going down. He's out there searching for his son. There is a cash app out there for him. You can find it out there. I wish I would have brought it on. I just didn't know. Everybody's been mentioning Sebastian Rogers. I need to make sure I have his info for next time. But yes, please follow the case. Check out all different kinds of lives. You can also go over to the lab with Josh. He has had Trev Time on there speaking. He's also had Seth, Sebastian's father, on there. All those shows are also really good. And by the way, JB0617, if you're still here, if they found out anything major, if you could drop it into the chat, that would be great, because I'm dying to know if you're speaking of anything major. So back to topic. We're going to listen to these interviews. I'm going to go ahead and play Desiree's first all the way through. It's only a couple minutes long to give you guys a perspective of just how Desiree was feeling about Terri, motives, just her thoughts in the early ons.
Desiree Young is with us exclusively. Desiree, good morning to you.
Good morning.
This is the first time that you are speaking out about Kyron without your ex-husband, Kaine. Up until now, you two have maintained a united front. So what has changed?
Well, we're still a united front in the goal that we want Kyron home, and we want answers. That hasn't changed. I personally have learned of information lately that has disappointed me in Kaine's choices and his behavior, and I just can't stand by and support the choices that he's making.
Well, some of that has to do with these court documents that you've seen, where he talks about his wife, Terri, being visibly impaired from alcohol several times a week, putting her kids at risk. He calls her emotionally disturbed, yet he never shared any of his concerns with you. Is that correct?
That's correct. We learned of all of this information after the fact and from the media. He had several opportunities to let Tony and I know what was going on in the house, and he did not. He had several opportunities to make the right choice and either let me know or remove Kyron from the house. I would have removed Kyron from the house had I have known what was going on.
Did you see any signs ever, Desiree, that Terri was dealing with alcohol abuse, or that she was, as Kaine put it, emotionally disturbed?
I did not see any signs of the I did not see any evidence of alcohol abuse. In fact, I didn't know about the DUI until after Kyron went missing. But as far as a personality disorder, I did for years. I was aware that she had some issues with pathological lying, things of that nature, but just mostly from my interactions with her, I didn't see, as much as Kaine did.
If you had any concerns, why didn't you at any time, or did you, try to get your son Kyron out of that home?
Oh yes, I did. Starting a year prior to him going missing, I tried to get custody of him.
And what would happen?
Kaine told me it was not an option on several occasions, and it was a point of contention with us. He was exhibiting some problems in school, and he was expressing a lot of sadness and upset at the situation, and Kyron on many occasions told me he wanted to come live with me. And on a couple of different occasions, Terri had called me specifically so that I could talk to Kyron because he was so upset, and Terri personally wanted me to take Kyron.
And then on Friday, the police showed you some emails that Terri had sent to friends of hers describing her marriage to Kaine and her feelings about your son. I know you can't reveal the specifics because of the investigation, but generally, what did they say?
It's very clear from Terri's horrible words that she had a severe hatred for Kyron, and that she blamed a lot of the marital problems between Kaine and herself on Kyron, that it was a huge point of contention in their marriage, and she had expressed in great detail her hatred for Kyron. I now believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that not only is she capable of hurting Kyron, that it's clear that she could have hurt him in the worst possible way.
Do you still hold out hope that your son is alive?
I will until the day I die.
Desiree Young, thank you so much for joining us, and please know that our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family.
Thank you.
It just absolutely breaks my heart every time I see her talking, especially the early news, the older news reports. They're just so heartbreaking. She talks about these emails that show that Terri had hatred for Kyron. And here we are talking about the hatred. Could that have been motive? Desiree, those emails, some of those emails were written to Quinn, Desiree's son's stepmother, and she was able to use these emails in court to gain custody back of her son Quinn, because these two stepmoms, Terri and Quinn's stepmom, were bashing their stepkids back and forth in these emails. Yes, she was able to use those emails to gain custody back of Quinn. And she talks about that year prior, just like we're going to see in this other news report that Kaine does. This year before, Kyron come up missing, Terri is taking antidepressants. She's drinking and passing out on the couch. She's not taking good care of the kids. She's getting angry with Kyron for not bringing home good color code stuff from school. She's wanting to punish him. Kaine and her are fighting about these punishments, according to Kaine in this next news report. I mean, things were not going well in that house, to the point where even Terri herself was like, you need to take Kyron, Desiree. You need to take him.
On a few occasions.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Very crazy. Yeah, sounds like a really hard year.
And then taking antidepressants and drinking, that's not a good combination. And then throw in the fact that postpartum's also been talked about. So you're having postpartum, you're taking depression medicine, and you're drinking. Not good mixes whatsoever.
Yeah.
And thank you, JB0617, for letting us know about Sebastian. I'm actually very interested in what has to be said. Please, everybody, if you haven't already, please like. If you can't get a membership, no problem. You're all more than welcome to be here, but we did set up our membership. So if you want to become a member, you can hit that up at the top. It's been pinned. We're super excited, to have memberships and stuff. We only did 2 different levels. You can be a whisperer or you can be a screamer. We didn't want to make things too difficult. We've got some custom emojis you can be able to use. You'll be able to join some members only lives. You can visit me over in the community and have member only polls that will better our station, because we love hearing from everybody on that.
Right.
You'll also be able to see like personal things about me and Kaylee's life, that we would love to share with our members.
Documents on the membership community tab. We'll be putting documents there. So if you wanted to see, access these documents that we spend time sourcing, these other research, we appreciate you for being here. If you're here live, we appreciate if you're listening on replay. We just appreciate the support. It means a lot to us. And it feels great being part of a community that cares about missing kids.
Yeah, we also have a Cash App in the descriptions too. If you feel free to give money over to the Cash App, we're going to use that for special equipment and paying for our apps, like our live streaming and our extra YouTube stuff that we've got going on. Every little bit helps. But yeah, we appreciate you all for being here.
And while we're talking about it real quick, before we go back to topic, I'd just like to say this is something Samantha and I are really passionate about in the next coming few months, especially as my very youngest son will be starting kindergarten in fall. And that is going to free up a lot of my own time, I feel like. And we have big plans and things. We will be doing lives, but we also will be offering more in the future. So if you aren't a subscriber, please consider subscribing. And again, we appreciate all of you and your support. So now, yes, go back to topic.
Yeah. Let's go over this interview with Kaine. Like I said, it's 15 minutes long. My grandson is CapCut King. He came in here. He helped me put on the caption because you can barely hear the reporters. So if you've got headphones, it might be a good idea to put those on to help you hear the questions that the reporters are going to be asking. I did turn up the volume when I made this in CapCut, so hopefully you'll be able to hear the reporters, because the questions that they're asking are very important. And this entire video is so telling and mouth dropping information.
We still have people bringing in ideas left and right on ways we can continue to get his face out there as much as possible. Let us know, because we're going to be doing it.
You're still very optimistic that he's alive even after all these months.
I am. And, I know through the filings, people have asked me, we filed that that there were horrific actions that day that Kiara may have been witness to. Lay out the scenarios of everything that could have happened to him that day, and every scenario that has him alive still today. Look at any of those scenarios and have your child witness another child have to go through that right in front of their face.
And he mentions right there, like, think of every single scenario with Kyron alive, but also pausing this, think of every scenario that could have happened with her unaliving Kyron in front of Kiara. Because here he's talking about, again, that unimaginable act of horror that could have happened in front of an 18-month or 2-year-old little girl.
It's horrific. I don't care how you describe it. So yeah, I think he's alive. I think it was an awful day. I sure hope that Kiara didn't witness what happened that day, but I'm pretty confident that she was there based on what we know. And that's a horrific thing for a child to have to witness.
On what they know, they're sure she was there. So whatever happened to Kyron, they're pretty sure she witnessed whatever it was. When I think about a little child like that, seeing something so horrific, it just kills me inside. And to be a parent, to think that your child had seen that, having a child missing, and then knowing that your other child who's not is also going through something in the midst of all of this, because this is November 15th of 2010 when he does this. And in the midst of all of this, he's getting a divorce. He's gaining custody, or he's getting a restraining order. He's searching for his son. They're raising money, and he still has to comfort his baby girl. It's just heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
So just in that statement alone, yeah, I believe he's alive, but that's an awful day, regardless of scenario.
What does that say about Terri, the fact that she asked for a dismissal in this case, basically giving up any custody rights to Kiara?
Can you talk about the dismissal in court?
Yeah, she, when he had filed a restraining order against her, she had tried to do, I think, basically contest it and wanted parenting time, but then she dropped it and didn't request parenting time. And as the story goes to this day, she still has no parenting time and chose to walk away from Kiara so she wouldn't have to talk about Kyron.
Yeah, 14 years of not seeing her daughter, whom you also had the pleasure of meeting when you met Kaine, which is amazing.
Yes.
And I'm so happy that you got to meet her. And you were talking about how, we want to just think about this little, like she's some teenager now or whatever, but you're saying that she's still quite the little girl.
Yeah, I mean, I know that she's older than, I guess, I know teenagers, at least the teenagers in my life, a lot of them get all glammed up. And she just, when I saw her, it wasn't what I was expecting. So yeah, definitely sweet. She helped me with some flyers and she seemed, involved in what her family's doing. A booth for advocacy for Kyron.
Yeah. And, a lot of people talk about her turning 18 years old and whether or not she's going to decide to see her mom. I don't think she's going to decide. That's my personal opinion on it. I think Kaine has protected her enough and let her know. Well, maybe he'll let her know even more when she's older, just what a dangerous person Terri really is. But back to this, she seriously gave up custody. This custody that allegedly could have been the reason why all of this stuff started, all of the reason why Kyron is missing now. She just gives her up to save her ass.
Mm-hmm. With her own selfish, yeah, exactly, her own selfish motives. She abandoned her, and her son James also used the word abandon. So in all aspects, she abandoned everybody, even Kyron. I mean, she could have helped the case so much, but, she felt, obviously, we know, I feel like she's guilty. I want to say, obviously, we know she's guilty. Allegedly. I better say that out there. Allegedly. But yeah,
Well, she
only
didn't
thinks about
be
herself.
one day out there on the pavement to
No.
look for Kyron. And
Nope.
there, you got your people that will say, how do you know? Maybe she just didn't announce it. You know what? Let me tell you something about Terri. Everybody was following her. Everybody wanted to know what she was doing. She even had to try filing a stalking order on somebody else because so many people were after her. She even allegedly claims that people wanted to harm her and everything else, and that's why she ended up having to go to Roseburg. But let me tell you, if she would have been beaten feet looking for Kyron, someone would have saw it.
I think that speaks to Terri.
You saw the last filing we put in. I think that says everything that we need to say at this point in time. I know that you've all reported on it. I would put it out there again. The silence says everything in this.
Kane, do you believe that Terri knows something that would bring Kyron home?
Absolutely, I do.
Would you be willing to ask or urge prosecutors to give her immunity if she could give you that information to bring Kyron home?
I'm going to leave that up to the investigators and the process.
Here you had a reporter. I don't know if you guys heard it. Whether or not, like, Kaine, would you be willing to give her immunity if she would talk about what happened to Kyron?
Prosecutors, they know exactly where I stand on that issue. But if there's anybody out there who has information that would bring Kyron home, I would beg and plead with them to do that, regardless of what the consequences were or what they weren't. And if the consequences could be removed to bring him home, so be it. But that is not for me to decide. That's for them to decide. And if the cases are strong enough, then they're going to do what they have to do. And in absence of any information from Terri, they have to continue down that path. So I don't expect a different approach at this point in time.
Bring him home alive, right?
Of Kyron doing these things. Family focus has been on Terri. Law enforcement has been on Terri. Why do you think there hasn't been an arrest in the rotate?
For now, until we have information that gives us a direct path to where he's at, putting her behind bars doesn't necessarily help. If she's communicating with anybody or she reaches out to anybody that helps give us the direct path, then that's obviously what we're waiting for. But the thing is when an arrest occurs, the clock starts ticking. Then the legal process has to start. And if they don't have a tight enough legal case, which I'm very confident that they will and that they do, but when they're ready, they'll make the arrest. And until then, I fully support their actions up until that particular point, and I will continue to support it moving forward. But once that happens, the clock ticks. And if they don't
this even goes right back to what Tony was saying. Like, Tony in the book says that they better have all their ducks in a row, their I's dotted, their T's crossed. They need to make sure they have everything ready when they go after Terri, because if they don't, she could run. And she has been, taking all of these trips down to Mexico. You've heard me talk about it, Kaylee. Like, why is she making all these trips? Her husband has family down there. Could this be her trying to find her escape route if anything were to come down? Because she started going down to Mexico after all of the talk about Kyron being unalive and that there was evidence in that, and he's saying way back then that law enforcement isn't going to go after her until everything is put together. Until everything, they have all their evidence, they have everything they need to put her away forever, because they get one chance.
Yep, they need that beyond a reasonable doubt. A direct path. Kaine just said it, a direct path to where Kyron is.
Yeah, and Zane Lilly here. I feel like if Terri had ever involved herself more in looking for Kyron, she would have drawn far less suspicion towards herself. And I totally agree with that. So thank God, Zane, that she didn't, right? Because that's why people started looking at her more suspiciously. And Chuck Anderson says, does the husband know about this case? Yes, this is the husband talking here. This is Terri's husband back then.
Do you mean her current husband? Because if so, I think he does as well.
Yes, I think he does also.
Yeah.
have a solid case and we go into court and she walks from the case, that's going to be an awful day. So I want to make sure they have everything. It needs to be airtight. We need to go in and justice needs to be served.
I just wanted to be clear on your answer to his question. You were talking about, yes, grant immunity, you would encourage him to do that. That's bringing him home alive, right? I mean, if she did something that caused him to die, you wouldn't want them to grant her immunity, would you?
You see how he just immediately puts his face down the minute that a reporter asks him or says anything about Kyron not
Yeah.
being alive. And I also want to point out, I don't know if all of you guys know what Kaine currently looks like or knows what he looked like before Kyron disappeared or after he disappeared, but this is November, so this is, let's see, July, August, September. 5 months after Kyron's disappeared. 5 months and a couple weeks. He has lost so much weight. He has lost so much weight. I read in news articles that he lost like over 45 to 60 pounds. Desiree lost a ton of weight. She made herself sick because she couldn't eat things. People were constantly having to try to get her to eat because she would just get sick after she ate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can see the look on his face just right here where you pause. Like somebody mentioned that his son could be unalive and he's broken. It's just so heartbreaking.
Well, it's just a scenario that I don't put through my head. So I'm not asking them to grant her immunity on anything. I'm asking her to come forward with the information and do what's right like we've done so many times. And that's not going to do any good. Me standing here today saying that is not going to make anything change. So regardless of what the investigators do and regardless of what the prosecutors do, I don't think it's going to make a difference. So I'm not going to ask them to do anything that they should or shouldn't do. It's up to them to decide, and they're going to do what's right. They're seeking justice for our son, and I expect them to continue that course, and I support them in it.
When was the last?
I think that is absolutely amazing that Desiree and Kaine, still 14 years later, they are still 100% behind the detectives and behind the searchers and the investigation itself on their son.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because by now, if not, they could seriously be talking about turning this into a cold case. But they are still, you know, and we just found out here recently that there was a search done recently. So they're still looking. And I'm not talking about the March 2023. I'm talking about this last month or so. There's been things going on.
Time you tried to contact her and plead with her to...
I haven't spoken to her except for pleas through the media that we've made. I haven't spoken directly to her since we left the house.
Kaine, do you think this case could be made without her cooperation at all?
I think it's possible, but you're seeing what happens. I think you're seeing what's happening in that instance is it's really slow. We have to find the pieces. They're not just being handed to you.
Do you believe she had an accomplice still?
There's a number of different scenarios. I don't know which one. I don't know what to believe. I believe that obviously something happened that day. I believe other people could be involved. She could have done it on her own, but there's so many different scenarios. I just don't know. I need to see more information that would lead me to believe one way or the other. But do I hope she still had an accomplice? Absolutely. I do.
That's one more person who might have information.
And there's a higher probability that he's still alive if that's the case, which I firmly do believe.
Can you give us any update on grand jury proceedings where things stand now?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know anything about the grand jury proceedings.
Kaine, Desiree expressed frustration about what she learned in those emails on Friday. About she did not know, she says, what was going on in your home. Did you ever...
This is the reporter talking to Kaine, asking him, you know, Desiree's reaction and what he has to say on the fact about these emails. These emails are a huge thing because people talk about how Kaine never knew about these emails that talked about a severe hatred for Kyron. But now that the reporter's asking him about it, he doesn't react in a way that would lead you to believe that he doesn't know anything about these emails. It's actually quite the opposite. And I just want to point it out before he says something about it.
Do you feel at that time that Kyron was in danger in your home?
At what time?
Back before he disappeared?
I didn't feel that he was in danger. No. There was many discussions and arguments around certain behavioral things, and in a lot of cases, me confronting her on stuff that I didn't feel was appropriate. Not dangerous things, but just things around reprimanding or punishment and things like that. And I actually, like I said, the last few months at least, if not more than that, was standing up for him.
Was standing up for him. Punishments. He was standing up for his son. Last few months, if not more, standing up for his son. And a good dad would. So obviously here something's going on. 5 months prior, she sends James away and she hires someone or tries to hire someone to get rid of him. So something is going on, like in months prior. And like me and Kaylee both think, our opinions are that Terri was planning this out for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some of the circumstances, because it really was unnecessary. Even with her own son. I mean, that's one thing that we call out in the court paperwork as well, that I think everyone needs to understand, is this process of removing children from our home started before Kyron went missing. She had her son taken out of our home in February. And I know that there are claims that was due to me, and I have people that will get up on the stand and testify that was not the case, and they actually had conversations with her on those days when she made the decision for him to leave. So we had children leaving our house well before Kyron did, and James was the first one. And unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do about that. But if I could step in right now and do something with regards to him, I would in a heartbeat.
He absolutely loves James. And he is heartbroken that he hasn't seen him for 5 months. And now it's even been, he hasn't seen him for 5 months, of course, because they split up. But in court documents, she makes it to where Kaine can't see James. And so this is a huge thing for him, because not only is he dealing with his younger child who misses both of her brothers, and then he has Kyron gone, he's also missing his stepson that he's been raising nearly his whole life.
Right.
The only father figure to James ever. And James and him loved each other very much. They actually, despite what Terri wants you to believe, Kaine and him got along very well. And the only headbutting going on in that house was between James and Terri, Terri and Kaine, Terri and everyone else in that house.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well said. And he even said he defended James too. And James said he was hit with utensils and punished and grounded so bad he had no stimulus, just craziness.
And by the way, hun, let me know if you want me to pause at any time, because I'm just kind of pausing at
the
peaks that I know. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
let me know. Definitely she planned this out. Susie says, thank you for being here, Susie. I see you.
She asked about Kyron. I wear my shirt a lot. We have pictures and banners, obviously, around the house. Everything, all the photos of Kyron are still up. Nothing's been taken down. We've moved a couple things around, but everything is still there. When I wear my shirt, she knows who it is. She asks about him all the time when we're wearing this stuff, when we're talking about him at home. She knows that he's not there. Her and I sit down and read just like the two of them would read when he was home. He'd come home from school, he'd sit on his bed, she'd sit in the beanbag next to him, they'd both read. And so she gives me a book and we go sit down and she reads next to me. I don't read to her. I read it myself, but she sits next to me and reads because she still thinks that he's there or is expecting him to be there. And we do that all the time. And so, yeah, she knows he's not home.
It's just so heartbreaking to see him so broken, talking about him and his daughter, reading books and doing the things that she used to do with her brother. I just can't even imagine. And as always, we are always praying. Let me just throw up a banner here for Kyron. We are always praying for the family. In chat, throw up some prayers, throw up some frogs, throw up some blue hearts, and just let the family know that we care and we're here, and Kyron is not going to be forgotten ever.
Very aware of the tension that Terri had with James.
Well, got to take the banner down because it's interfering. I'll put that back up in a little bit. It's interfering with the video.
And Kiara. Yes. It was disciplining when it's not appropriate, doing certain things that I didn't feel were appropriate at the time, especially for a child her age. And that's the hard part. We've got 3 kids that are separated by a number of years, and each one of them have to be disciplined differently. You have different expectations because of their ages. You discipline them differently. They're not the same. They're all different. And to try to go through and do some of the things that she did, I just didn't feel that they were appropriate. Were they harmful or life-threatening? Absolutely not. But were they excessive? I believe that they were. And we've stated as much through our documentation.
Can you describe what some of that discipline might have been?
I'm not going to get into the details. We outline where all I'm going to talk about is in the court documentation. It was excessive, not physically beating them up, not endangering them, none of that stuff, but just excessive in nature.
You know, you said that she had James removed. What were you thinking when these people from the gym came and testified before the grand jury and told us that, you know, she was going around the gym telling everybody, you know, that bastard, he made James move out, you know, just talking with hatred about you, saying that it was you who had James move out. What was going through your mind when you heard that?
Actually, I didn't hear any of it, which is typical. Everyone else finding out about everything before I'm even told about it. So, and even hearing the story after the fact, I know what the truth is. I don't need to be upset about it. I know it's a long way to put in. I think I think that says everything that we need to say.
Slow down. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that for a second because, well, it made me lose my place and everything. Hold on, now I gotta find it again.
You know, you said that she had James removed. What were you thinking when these people from the gym?
Yeah, this reporter's talking about, like, what were you thinking when people from the gym were saying that you were the reason why James left, that you're the one who kicked James out, like you were talking about earlier, Kalia. And he is just like typical that I find out from other people instead of, you know, actually finding out about it, because I think one of the reasons why Kaine stays so quiet was because in the beginning, I think he kind of felt outcasted a little bit. I don't know why. I'm just realizing that, like, right now, as I'm listening to this, you can almost tell he felt a little bit outcasted. And it was probably because he was Terri's husband and he's getting blamed. He's getting, well, fingers are pointing at him like, you should have known. Well, let's not forget that they were talking about getting a divorce. They actually were fighting till 3 a.m. in the morning the night before Kyron came missing. But there had been several red flags earlier that year. Of course, that's why you and I seem to think that that's why she started planning this long ago, was because talk of divorce was already going on.
Right.
And everything else. And that's this motive thing here. But yeah, there are people pointing fingers at him. They're just, you know, you should have known that. How you don't know that somebody's going to hurt your child. You don't know that they're going to make them disappear. You don't know that the person that you love, that the person that you married, that the person that you're living with is capable of doing something like this to a child. You might fight about disciplining. They might be a beezy. They might, you know,
they might be an alcoholic.
They might be,
you know, that doesn't equate to somebody doing something to a child. None of that is writing on the wall. You never expect it. And yeah, I consider it victim blaming. You know, I mean,
and he actually goes into detail during this too about some of the things that she's doing that's just so deceitful, the things she's keeping from him and everything else. So I am one of those big time Kaine protectors. Like, I'm going to protect him all the time, because it breaks my heart to see people go after him, because from the very beginning, you've always been able to see that little slice of guilt, that, or not little slice, huge bit of guilt that he carries upon himself, and feeling guilty for his son's disappearance, because he's probably thinking to himself, like, if I would have never got with her, I'd still have my son.
Or if I would have never cheated
on Desiree, I would still have my son.
Yeah.
Two huge mistakes that he makes. And yeah, you can't tell me he doesn't live with that guilt every single day, every time he thinks about his child or thinks about Kyron.
Came and testified before the grand jury and told us that, you know, she was going around the gym telling everybody, you know, that bastard, he made James move out, you know, just talking with hatred about you, saying that it was you who had James move out. What was going through your mind when you heard that?
Actually, I didn't hear any of it, which is typical. Everyone else finding out about everything before I'm even told about it. So, and even hearing the story after the fact, I know what the truth is. I don't need to be upset about it. I know exactly what happened. Like I said, there's 2 or 3 people who she spoke to. I was on a business trip when he was moved from our home. There was 2 or 3 people that she spoke to over the phone. I was actually at one of their houses for dinner the night that she called and made her decision on what was going to happen. And she spoke with one of my friends over the phone and told her exactly the same thing that she told me. So I know what the truth is. I'm not worried about it. The thing is I just wish I would have known what she was up to back when the whole thing started.
I know, but you hear that she was going around the gym and saying that. Does that make you think that she was plotting something at that time?
Not with Kyron, no. No. Yeah, I've noticed in a lot of these.
You almost have this reporter sitting there pointing fingers at him. That's irritating me.
Yeah, right.
A lot of the process we're walking through is her setup is talking to people and giving them information that's not necessarily true. But like I said, looking back, there's still a bunch of things I feel that we don't know. We're dealing with someone who, again, in my opinion, I'm not a professional, but in my opinion, through my readings and research, I believe from a psychological standpoint, is a master at deception, misdirection, and she's bringing it forward in spades. And we're finding out about it left and right as we go through this process. And again, how could I not have known about it? She's really good at what she does. The alcohol part was hidden until other people brought information forward, and even then it was still hard to put the pieces together until there was a couple more pieces provided that put it in focus. Some of these other things are the same way. She's a master of deception and misdirection. All the conversations, again, in my opinion, she was having with people was the misdirection part. Other things that she was doing, again, in our household were things to provide misdirection so I wouldn't discover what was going on. Again, my opinion only. Investigators, this is nothing from the investigation, this is straight from me. Okay, so that's my opinion, is there's a lot of misdirection here through people, through activities, so that you can't see what she's actually doing. And as we step back and we get more pieces and we start to unravel, some of those things are coming to the surface. Again, I think the alcoholism is only the first step.
You know, and we have touched basis on this right here, her controlling the narrative, or that was one of our lives, or, you know, it is mind-blowing to me the way she's been able to manipulate and control the narrative from the very beginning.
Right. And me too. It mind blows me. And hearing Kaine say it just right here, how mind blown he is. He didn't see this until they looked through every teeny tiny little nook and cranny of Terri's secret life that they could. And then they started finding out all this crap that is horrible. And that she was manipulating and hiding her true self from everyone. And guess what? She still does it to this day. I hope it doesn't matter if you think Terri is innocent or guilty. If you're private messaging Terri Horman about Kyron Horman's case, I hope and pray you're doing the right thing and sending those messages to the detective on Kyron's case, because she is a master of manipulation. She's a master of deflection. And it's the same thing that we've seen her do since she came back to Kyron's community, trying to deceive people and manipulate people all over again. That's actually how Samantha and I met.
Yeah, actually it is. Yeah, I mean, we have 2 different shows that we've done on her. Terri Horman's Scandalous Complex Life, and that goes over all of her exes, all the times she's manipulated and done scandalous things to earn money, to gain, anything to gain. She's a very greedy person. Even if it's not money she's gaining, you know, she wants it. Anything that makes her look good in the spotlight. She brags about being a teacher, but yet she's never held a position down. You know, she wants to say that she's this teacher or whatever. She lost that when she got the child endangerment charges for drinking and driving with James in the car, you know. And then we have the Terri controlling the narrative aspect of Kyron's case, because from the very beginning, she's spinning out all of these different narratives. Oh, I think it was the janitor. Oh, maybe it was the guy at the 7-Eleven. Oh, she's throwing out all of these suspects, but yet she doesn't ever say what any of these people look like, wants to sit down with a sketch artist or nothing like that. She just wants to throw out as many scenarios as she possibly can to deflect the attention off of herself. And when you hear Kaine talk about how manipulative she is and how controlling, and just all goes right back to what we have said. And when I heard this, because this is my first time hearing this entire interview, I've only heard like little bits and clips of it, not the whole thing. And hearing him talk, it just confirms that those videos, those lives that we have done on Terri, yeah, very, very accurate. Very accurate.
I think there's a lot more coming.
Since Kiara asked for Terri, Kaine, could you also address visitation? Would you oppose visitation or supervision? Can you talk about that?
I think our filing's covered. I don't think I need to address that here today. I think my position's really clear on that across the board.
Kind of Terri seeing Kiara, even with.
I don't think we'd be in court fighting about it if I wasn't opposed to it. So yeah, I answered that already. No.
The descriptions in the filings of her psychological descriptions almost sound like a borderline sociopath.
I'm not an expert, and I'm definitely not at liberty to comment. I have my opinion, but I'm going to keep that to myself.
Is that what you wanted to talk about?
Pretty much. There's a lot of concern about the divorce hearings, and it's a distraction. I don't think it's a distraction at all. I think that it's a process. It's part of the investigation. Kyron is on my mind every day. When we were sitting in the courtroom, you guys were in there. That's who's on my mind. We have two objectives here. We have one is to find Kyron, and two is to protect both children still involved, and really all three children involved with this event that's happened. Okay, Kyron is the priority. We need to find him and bring him home. We need to keep the other children safe. So I'm keeping Kiara safe as best as I can, and once Kyron's found, I'll keep him safe too.
Concerned about James?
I am.
Have you spoken to James?
I'm not allowed to speak to James. Her attorneys are preventing us from having contact, although I know he.
Yeah, the attorneys are keeping them separate. Terri has gotten her attorneys involved and keeping James from being able to talk to Kaine, his brother, stepbrother that he was, pretty much raised with, has known since he was a baby, the stepfather that he adores and loves, and they're not allowed to see each other or talk. I mean, Kaine's lost two children, and James has lost his brother and has nobody to talk to because mom's pawning him off on grandparents. And then when mom decides to go to Roseburg and go move in, he goes and stays with his dad, the dad that didn't have anything to do with him. His biological father had never had anything to do with him. And now he's sent over there. He talks about this being bounced around thing, and it's just absolutely horrible to hear, Kaine look and act like he's just so upset not being able to see James.
Mm-hmm.
Normally I don't have feelings for James, but this kind of breaks my heart.
Yeah.
He wants contact.
Sorry.
He was ultimately just a kid. Even if he, lies and protects his mom now as an adult, back then I do agree. He didn't deserve what he went through as well as a kid.
As do I, but we're not being allowed to talk to each other.
Does he talk to Terri?
I don't know. As far as I know, I believe he's living with Terri right now, but I can't confirm that, and I have no information that would lead me to believe otherwise. I was under the impression that he was staying with his dad for the summer, and if the normal set of activities occurred, stay with his dad through the summer till school starts and then go back with Terri. So I'm assuming right now that he's with Terri, but I honestly don't know.
A few weeks ago when Desiree came up here and talked to us, she said that she was so disappointed since day one Terry's parents haven't contributed at all in the effort to find Kyron. In the beginning, did you feel like they were helpful? Did they offer to come up?
I don't know if you guys can read it. You can't hear these reporters supporters, obviously, but they're asking Kaine right now if the grandparents have had anything to do with like any searching or help at all with, with Kyron's disappearance.
Yeah.
Any kind of support or anything. Which I'm really glad for the captions on this, because I didn't know that that's what he was being asked.
Up until, I can only really comment up until we left the house, but her mom was there most of the time. So they were there trying to help as much as possible. So after that, I can't comment. Obviously, they're helping her, and I don't see any active push from them or family down in Roseburg to help with the search. I don't know. I haven't been to Roseburg since this went down, so if there are a bunch of flyers posted around and they're handing out T-shirts and bracelets down there, then maybe I'm wrong, but I sincerely don't believe that's the case. And they haven't.
Well, the flyers that she was putting up in Roseburg showed a man on it, and then she was also putting up different kinds of flyers because she was upset that people in the community were in a group supporting Kyron and everything else, and they were kind of like Terri haters, I guess I want to say.
Yeah.
And Terri was posting up flyers about them being in a group and Terri hating, but yet she's not beating feet to do anything to find her stepson. She's not beating feet to do anything to put up flyers. She's putting out flyers that are
With
spreading
incorrect information and incorrect tip line.
Yeah.
And a Photoshop
And
picture of Kyron
on it. Yeah. And a picture of a man on it, when obviously the flyers that had gone out prior, there was one of just Kyron, there was one of Kyron and Terri, and then there was one of the truck Terri and Dede.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget Dede in all of this too, and what she may, we've spoken about her briefly earlier, but rumor has it, allegedly, she's in love with Terri. So was she trying to do everything she could to help Terri, do all of these things? I mean, I 100% believe that Dede and Terri did this together. I do not believe that there is a third person. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, but right now I don't. I just don't feel like, because there's just not enough evidence to point to a third person. And then who would that third person be? And then the more I research, the more I'm like, could it be the landscaper? And then like you're saying, like, wouldn't they look into him? And then that just brings me to where we're at today. Like, is he being investigated? Are they talking to him still? Is there some chance that it could be? I don't know. I think that this may have just been a friendship thing that went out of control. Seriously, because how in the hell do you sit there and say, hey, bestie, you want to help me off my husband? You want to help me off or, get rid of my stepson? How do you do that? I mean, it's done all of the time, but I just don't get it. How do you just ask that?
Yeah, I know. I'm glad you bring up Dede. After this video, I did screenshot her response in her interview with Blink on Crime that I think alludes to a motive, and it talks about what you just talked about. So I can read that after this interview, after this video.
Because you know me, I think Dede's 10 times, 100 times more evil than Terri ever thought about being. She's so quiet. She doesn't say anything. She's never wanted to cooperate. Her dad's law enforcement, it's almost like the plan was almost hers or something. The way, I don't know. I could speculate about her all day.
They have every opportunity to do that. They have every opportunity to be vocal down there. They have every opportunity to help push the investigation from down there to spread the word about Kyron, and I don't believe that's happening. But again, I don't know. But I think the real reason I wanted to make sure that we were here today is that everything we're doing is for Kyron through the court file. I know people are, again, I'll go back to what I said before, feel that it's a distraction. It's part of the process. We got to protect Kiara. We have to set up a household that's protective, so when Kyron comes home, there's no interaction with the person who potentially did this to him at all with any of his siblings that are currently in our household. It's important that we do this. So it's every intention that we're focused on him, and anything we can discover through this process that helps find him, you're darn right we're going to do it.
You know, and like, I just want to mention this now. Like, Bigfoot Barbecue mentions earlier, you know, how many people forgotten about this case and everything else. If we were sitting here doing a live right now on Sebastian Rogers' new case, just happened a little over a month ago, we would have so many people in our life. If we were doing it on Michael Vaughn, we would have so many people in our life. And I'm not saying anything about, you know, I don't even know what to say. I'm just saying there's not a lot of people that know about it. There's not a lot of people out there that seem to care about Kyron anymore. We have our big time Kyron Horman fans out there that are supporting us all the time. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, he is kind of fallen off. I noticed when we first started doing lives and stuff on Kyron, we used to have a lot of people come in to our live shows, but it's slowly but surely not as many people here, you know, and it is it's just really hard to see that, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you can feel it. And we have to keep going. We have to
Yes.
keep posting in our Facebook group. We have to keep talking about Kyron here. We're locals. We get it. This has to be kept talking about. I'm going to throw up the number. So Kyron Horman came up missing on June 4th, 2010. If you have any information about Kyron or his whereabouts, call the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office tip line at 503-988-0560. Yeah, keep talking about him. Keep posting about him. Share his flyers. If you want flyers, come over. Our Facebook for Kyron Horman Case Revisited is in the description. You can join us over there. Let us know. We'll sing you flyers free of charge. Kaylee has access to be able to do that anytime you want it. Yeah, and just, you know, social media is where it's at on every single platform. If you're a Kyron supporter, support him by putting his flyer up, putting his information up. And most of all, if you hear any misinformation, correct it. If you know if it's a rumor, say something, correct it. That way we don't have a bunch of stuff flying around. And yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, just back to topic though. You said you had some information about Dede.
Oh, I just screenshotted this when she was being asked by the grand jury when Blink on Crime had asked her about what they were asking. Blink on Crime asked Dede, so without telling me what questions you were asked specifically, what would you characterize as your testimony? And Spicer says, they were obsessed with my sexuality. Was I a lesbian? What were my thoughts on homosexuals? Did I ever have a threesome with anyone, with Kaine and Terri, etc.? I was thinking if I were a juror, I would be like, what does this have to do with anything? I answered every question respectfully and honestly, but my takeaway is that some folks still have a hard time believing that I would rush to a friend's aid if we had not been in contact or particularly close in the first place. It continues, but I just stopped there because it just, you know, if they're sitting there asking her over and over about her sexuality, I believe that makes me believe, if she's being honest, that they believe the motive for Dede was sexual / love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mind-blowing. And like Zane Lilly sits here and points out, Terri is clearly not uncomfortable asking people to hurt others for her. There are at least 3 different people who allege she's tried to elicit plots to hire people to harm other people, 3 people who don't know each other. And it's true. She really does feel comfortable asking this question. To us, that's an uncomfortable thing to even talk about. How would you even go about that? But because she uses her sexuality, because she is so manipulative, the way that you even talk, Kaylee, of how she just like
Like second nature to her.
Yeah, it says it in a way that is just, You know, you don't even know probably whether to believe her or not. Maybe she'll even just kind of laugh it off because she wants to see, she wants to test, she wants to test the waters and see just how, you know, close of a friend you are or how close you are to her. If you're, you know,
Yeah.
because we didn't talk about that earlier either. You know, there is a plot to harm her ex back in the 1990s. Her, you know, plot to hurt somebody on social media. She asked her ex-boyfriend to do it, plus this with Kaine. And what from what we have heard now, there were 2 plots against Kaine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you guys, we're just trying to use words that YouTube doesn't like.
Yeah.
Catch on, and it can be kind of hard sometimes, but I'm pretty sure you guys get it. We got some pretty smart people in here. And then Chuck says, I think more people have forgotten. That is the sad part of cold cases. It was a multinational news event when it happened. Yeah, it's the largest criminal investigation in all of Oregon's history, the largest search for any person at all, child or person, in all of Oregon's history. Kyron Horman has lit up the world with that beautiful smile, his glasses, his big ears, and his, you know, his little smile. Oh my gosh, he's like the cutest, handsomest young man out there. You can do nothing but just think about what a sweet child is. If you can picture a sweet child, you picture, you know, Kyron Horman.
Yeah. Sometimes I get asked by people like, why do you do this for Kyron? And I just say, you know, if, you know, often these people who are asking are people who know me and my family and my kids. And I say, if my kid went missing, wouldn't you be so utterly grateful that there were people out there 14 years later championing for justice for your child? Yes, you absolutely would. And that's what Samantha and I are here for. And that's what our community does every single day. And I agree with Samantha. I agree, Chuck. It's hard because people have forgotten. But I will say it's awesome too, because, you know, the post that I made to say that we're going live tonight to talk about this, I just checked right now, it reached almost 8,000 people. And
well, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's just amazing. I just think of it in that way. And that's why, you know, I commented in the live chat, even sharing our lives or sharing a flyer, sharing a post from our Facebook group, all of that reaches so far. Actually,
Yeah, because this isn't us being butthurt because there's people not here for sure.
No,
This is just
not at
us
all.
worried that Kyron is being forgotten about. And now after this live, I'm literally sitting here thinking throughout this live, like, okay, when we get done here, what can we do? Because we're not doing enough, because there's not enough people here. There really isn't. We should have more. And that's not because people don't like coming over to our channel. That's not because we're butthurt that we're not, you know, getting people in here. This means Kyron Horman isn't getting enough attention. And you can bet me and my admins and mods will be going crazy to raise some more awareness. I feel like maybe this weekend's a great time. Well, nope, it's going to rain, but it's time to go put up some flyers in the community. Yeah. It's time, you know, it's time to put in the work.
Kyron, when he disappeared, his disappearance impacted the ripples of his disappearance, I should say. It impacted so many people. It's like a community-wide wound. He is Oregon's missing boy. And the Pacific Northwest missing boy. Like, he's one of the most recognizable faces in missing children cases in the, like, you know, last 20 years, right? And if Terri and Dede aren't going to do the right thing, if they think that they're going to get away with this for the rest of their lives, then the next best thing we can do as a community is band together and just raise awareness like freaking heck and motivate the DA to seek charges. If they really are sitting on evidence that Kyron is no longer with us and Dede and Terri are responsible, we need to be shouting from the rooftops and not stopping until they seek justice, because It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And there's no justice. What's the quote? Justice delayed is justice denied. I wholeheartedly believe that in Kyron's case. How long is too long? 14 years is too long.
Yep, 14 years is too long. We know how many people in this community love him. We're going to just go crazy the next couple of weeks, putting out as much information as we can about him. Share his flyers.
As we approach his 14th anniversary, it's only 2 months away.
Exactly what I was just thinking. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to say June 4th is just right around the corner. Why not bring so much awareness for the next couple of months? Everybody here, join me. Let's light up social media. June 4th is going to come. And when that happens, law enforcement seems to get a lot more tips in on June 4th and on his birthday in September. Susie says here, I will never forget precious Kyron, and I will never stop fighting to get justice for you and your family. And she 100% has been like the best supporter for Kyron ever. I'm so blessed to have met you, Susie. We met in another discussion group. We've done case studies together. She's an admin over on our Facebook. She has pictures of Kyron that I've actually never seen before. She posts them inside the Facebook group. But yeah, I'm just... we're going to have to do more. I just feel like after this live, we're just going to have to do more. And, me and you already know we've got more information we've been able to come up with to be able to do more lives on him. And that's going to be great. We're going to try to put the upcoming lives up maybe a couple of days prior to get the word out. And, there's other things that we can do. And the community and members like you guys, subscribers like you guys, just posting up Kyron helps in every single way, shape, or form. No tip is too small. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be the tip that leads to Kyron being found. So if you do have a tip, please call 503-988-0560. That's the tip line for Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. Yeah, the only thing we can do is keep spreading awareness. I want to thank everybody here.
Yes, thanks for joining our show.
Yeah, joining us. And no, I'm going to say it again. I am not complaining about the people that are here. I am so glad to have all of you here, but I just feel like we got to do more, and I'm going to do more. We're going to do more.
You heard it here first. We're turning that pressure. It's getting hotter.
Yeah, it's going to get hot. Matter of fact, why don't we just listen to something I got on here? Got a message for you, Terri, in case you're listening.
We're coming for you. Don't sleep.
Let me just play that again in case you weren't hearing the first time.
We're coming for you. Don't sleep.
That is Desiree Young. She's got a smile on her face and a pep in her step after last summer car wash. It is a new pep in her step. You always see her so unhappy, a grieving mom, and something's going on in the background that we don't know about. There's been a couple of searches this last year, and I feel like she knows something. I feel like something's coming. I'm really hoping. 2024. Yes. We said it in 2023. We thought it was coming, and we thought it was going to happen last year, but now we're just going to hope and pray it happens this year. And if it doesn't, then we'll hope and pray that it happens in 2025. But he's not going to be forgotten, and we're always going to be here to support Kyron and his family. Yeah. Again, if you guys haven't already, click that like button, subscribe. Well, if you're here, you've already subscribed because it's a subscribe only, and consider joining our memberships. This is the first live that we've had that we've been able to show our memberships. We worked really hard getting that all put together this last week, and we appreciate all of you that became a member tonight. We're very grateful to have you here, and we're very grateful to have all of your support. Yeah, we love you guys, and Thank you guys so much for being here. And Kaylia, thank you for all that you do, all the hard work that you do. Thank you for being my partner. Thank you for always
you.
helping me stay on the path of Kyron, even though sometimes not that I want to step away because I don't love Kyron. Like I said earlier in the live, it's so hard to come up with new information to do more lives on Kyron. But I've always got Kaylia in my ear, like, we can always do this. We can always do that. How about this? How about that? So she's my cheer team over here.
We make a great team. Thank you for all you do as
We
well,
do.
and all the hard work you put in this last week on the channel. And yeah, thanks for everybody for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yep, let's throw up some frogs and some blue hearts for Kyron. I know a lot of people don't like that kind of protest, but boy, is gone. Bring attention to the case.
Yeah.
Yes.
It sure does.
We're going to end the live with a little video from Kyron, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.